gardeners. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the instructions on how to use your second grade grow kit. And so let's get started by opening it up and seeing what's inside. Okay, the second grade grow kit is for carrots and beets. So carrots and beets are both root vegetables, which means that they are growing down pretty far into the ground. So in this kit, we have our carrots. We have rainbow carrots. We have red beets. And we have mokum carrots. Now the mokum carrots, you'll notice, look a little bit different. The seeds look a little different than the rainbow ones, and that's because they're coated. This allows you to plant more easily when you're planting in large numbers in the field, and so we thought we'd make our lives easier this year before we realized we weren't going to be doing the program at school. So that's why these look white and large and round. It's because the seed is coated, almost like an M&M has a coating around the chocolate. And then the rainbow carrots are uncoated, so this is what the seeds would look like inside here. Okay, now the rainbow carrots, I gave you those because they're fun. You never know what color the carrot is going to be until you pull it out of the ground. So there's about 3 or 4 seeds in there. You can plant all of them and then kind of see if you get different colors. The mokum carrots, I picked these because they grow a little bit more quickly and they don't really get super large. So if you ever bought the baby carrots in the store, they're probably about like 3 inches or so. The mokum carrots, even when they're fully mature, which means they're fully grown up, they're not going to get much bigger than 4, maybe 5 inches. So it allows us to grow them in containers a lot more easily. And then we also have our red beets, the Boro red beets. And these seeds are a little bit bigger and a little bit easier to handle. Okay? So we are going to plant all of those, and like I said, they're all root vegetables. And so if you watch the lesson next week, then you will, I believe it's on the 14th. On the 14th, we will go through and learn about the root systems and these root vegetables. The other things in the bag is we have these bags, and you'll notice they're quite tall. That is because we want the roots to be able to grow down into the ground as far as they can or need to. So we have 3 of these for our carrots and our beets. Now you'll notice that if you pick it up and then let it go, it's probably just going to fold back up on itself. So I'm going to show you how to keep it open while you're filling it with soil. Okay? And then finally we have 3 clothespins, and this is for use as a marker so we know what seeds we're planting in which grow bags. The other thing you should have gotten, which is not inside the paper bag, is a bag of soil. Now the bag is dry, so the soil inside is completely dry, and if you were to plant with this, it would be really difficult to water your seeds. You get a lot of soil erosion, so I recommend that you moisten it before you put it in the grow bag. So that's what we're going to start with. Okay, so I'm going to clear my space here a little bit, and we are going to get started by putting our soil into some sort of container. So I have a little kind of a mini bucket here. I already have a little bit of soil in here, so I'm just going to add to it. But what you're going to do is you're going to open your bag of soil and then just dump it in. There should be plenty of potting soil in here to plant all 3 of your seed types. Okay? Now, like I said, if you touch it, you'll feel it's very dry. Now, the potting soil consists of some organic compost material. It has some coconut coir in there as well as what looks like either perlite or vermiculite. Those are the little white balls that are in there. And those are there for water retention and moisture control. Okay, so what we're going to do to get our soil ready for planting is we are going to add some water. I usually add a little bit at a time, maybe a ½ cup at a time. That way I don't get it too sopping wet. We want it so that it starts to clump together, so it's moist. You can see it'll start turning a darker brown, but we do not want it where it's puddling, where it has a lot of extra water in there. All right, so what you'll do is you'll just keep stirring. You can use a trowel, you can use a spoon, a stick, even a popsicle stick if you have one. And you want to just stir it. Now mine, after stirring it, I can see that it's starting to clump together a little bit. It's getting a little bit darker, but I do see a lot of light brown, kind of just really dry material. So I'm going to add a little bit more water here. Okay. And then stir that up. Ah, yes, see now it's clumping a lot better. It's turning a nice dark brown. But again, it is not sopping wet. Now, if like I'm using a tiny little spoon, it's really not that practical for what I'm trying to do. So I probably am just going to reach in here and use my hands in a moment. But like I said, don't ever feel bad about getting your hands dirty when you're doing gardening. It's actually a badge of honor. All right, and this is very clean soil, so there's no manure in here, and there are no worms if you are afraid of them. Okay, so now I'm going to just put that off to the side. I'm going to get my first grow bag. We're going to get all 3 of them ready for planting. So in order to keep the bag open while you're putting the soil in, you want to take the top and fold it over. You can fold it over, I'd say, about an inch would probably be good on these larger bags. And that is going to help keep the top open while you're putting soil in there. Okay, so I start off just by putting a couple big spoonfuls in the bottom. Okay, and then reach in there and just push it down, pack it down a little bit. Now our root vegetables don't like really tightly packed soil. And the reason for that is because they're going to be digging down with their roots, and they need to be able to get through. And if it's too tightly packed, it's going to be too difficult. Our roots, as we'll learn in our lesson on the 14th, roots also don't like really rocky soil, our root vegetables. If you've ever seen a carrot that hits a rock, sometimes they split and it's like they have 2 little legs because they go around the rock. So if we want those nice straight carrots, we want to make sure that we have not super loose, but looser soil that's free of rocks, and where the water is going to drain down into the soil rather than staying up towards the top. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just use my hands now and fill this guy up. All right, you don't have to go all the way to the top. And for your the Mokum carrots, the smaller ones that I talked about that are coated with the white material, you don't have to fill this completely, okay? Because they're only going to get about 4 to 5 inches tall. So you probably can even fold down your bag to 2 to 3 inches, and that would be more than enough room. Okay, so lightly packing it down, and then I'm going to open this guy up a little bit more. Okay, put that around. There we go. Okay, so this is the one I'm going to use for my Mokum carrots. So I'm going to put that off to the side, clean up my workspace a little bit, move on to the next one. If you start to run out of potting soil, you can check to see if you have any on hand. You can let me know if you need some more. But then you can also just go outside and dig up a little bit of soil and mix it in with the potting soil that you already have. Okay, I do my best to pack the correct amount of soil, but sometimes it's hard to measure that, and I only have so big of a bag to put it in. So. All right, once we have this one packed, this is going to be, I think, my one for my beets, because again, it's not 100% to the top, but it should be more than enough for our beets, because our beets are kind of a little bit fatter and rounder. They don't grow down into the ground quite as far as our rainbow carrots do. So for our rainbow carrots, I'm going to grab some more soil and make sure that that bag is pretty full. Okay, so I'm going to fold this down a little bit more. Okay. And I'm going to go grab a little bit more dirt. Okay, and then I just have to wet this dirt as well, so bear with me as I just stir really quickly. I'm just going to use my hands to make it a little bit faster. So now I'm going to take my grow bag. This one I'm going to fill as high as I can. So again, I'm only going to put about an inch of a lip there at the top. I'm going to start to fill this guy. All right. Now, if you have, 4 seeds, rainbow carrot seeds in your bag, you can go ahead and plant them all. You just want to plant them almost like the 4 corners of the bag, but in a little bit. Not all right in the same hole, because the reason we give you more than 1 seed is because not all of the seeds are going to start growing. They're not all going to germinate. And so we need to make sure that you have a chance of getting a carrot. But as they grow, you're going to want to thin them out. That means you're going to take out the extra ones. If you're able to do it carefully, you might be able to take one of those little baby carrots, the sprouts, and move it outside or to another container. But you might also just throw it out or put it in the garbage or your compost or whatever you have. Okay? So, now this guy is a little bit more top heavy because it's so tall. So what we're going to do is once we have our grow bags and they're ready, we're going to make sure that we put them in some sort of container, maybe a metal, like a recycled baking dish, or it could be a pan, or it could be even just like a little container like this. But we want to make sure that we put it in something so that way it doesn't make a mess and it doesn't tip over. Okay, so I'm going to use this purple bin for right now. Okay, so I have my 3 grow bags, and they are all filled up to the appropriate levels. Okay, so this is what we have. And this tall one, this is going to be where I'm going to put my rainbow carrots, because those get the longest. And then our beets and our mokum carrots are going to go in the partially filled bags. All right, so let me just wipe off my hands really quickly. All right. Now we are good to start planting. Now I'm going to do this in 2 parts. So if you're watching this on our channel on YouTube, this is going to be marked as part 1. We will have part 2, which will probably be posted tomorrow. The reason for that is because one of our seeds are rainbow carrots. The maker or the provider of the seeds, which is Harley Seeds, they recommend soaking the seeds overnight in 1/4 inch of water in order to help them germinate faster. So we're going to actually do that. That's the rainbow carrots. Our mokum carrots have a coating that helps with germination and keeps diseases away, so we don't need to do that with those. All right. If we wanted to, we could do that for our beets as well. but we're going to skip that step so that way we can plant it today. It's up to you if you want to soak them as well. So let's start with the soaking. I just have a small plate here that has a lip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rainbow carrots. Now, be really careful where you put this. You might want to use a little cup. You want to make sure that somebody doesn't come along and not know what's on this plate and throw it out. So remember, these seeds are super, super small. It's really hard to see them. So you're going to want to make sure that you are able to fish them out wherever you're putting them. So I put I have 4 seeds in my bag. I put them on this little plate. You can probably barely see them. And I'm just going to put a little bit of water on this plate, just so that I know that they are all covered. Okay? So very, very little water, a 1/4 inch of water. I'm going to swish it around there, make sure they're all in. I've got 1, 2, 1 came off on my finger, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and I'm just going to push that off to the side. I'm going to leave that overnight, and then tomorrow I'll come back and I'll plant those carrot seeds. So let's move on to our mokum carrots. So these are really easy to see and handle again because they're coated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bag, and these, if you have access to the seed, in this case container, or the seed packet, it will tell you on here how far down into the ground it needs to be planted. But the rule of thumb is you just look at how big the seeds are. Now these are coated, but our seeds are very, very tiny. If you have small seeds, they're not going to be planted very far into the ground. So a seed of a carrot size is only going to go into the ground maybe a 1/4 inch. Larger seeds like the red beets are going to be more like a 1/2 inch or so. And then anything that's bigger than that, like a pumpkin seed or a sunflower seed, those might go into the ground all the way down to 1 inch. So just look at the seed packets. I'll give you links to all of the information for each of the seeds that you're planting so you can read through it. But we're going to plant based on what I've done in the past for these types of seeds. So for the carrots, what we're going to do is make a very small indent on either side of the planting container. Again, a very small indent. We're not making a huge hole, okay, because we're just going to just drop it in. Sometimes it's even easier just to place the seed on the soil and then just push it in the appropriate depth, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and take these seeds out. Okay, so I have my 2 seeds, and I'm going to place them in each of the little indentations that I made. Once they are in the soil, then you are just going to very lightly push some of the soil on top. Okay? Now, I put them far enough away that I could let them grow to a certain height and determine which one is strongest. I might actually, for the mokums, even be able to grow 2 in one bag. So just kind of keep an eye on it, see if they're getting too crowded. As long as they have enough light and enough space, they should be okay. All right? Then once we have our seeds planted, we're going to come back in a minute and water, but we're going to wait till we have our beets in. Before I move on, it's going to get really difficult because I forget things sometimes to know what seed is where. So we are going to take our clothespins and we are going to write down what we're planting, and we are going to clip it to the bag. So first off, we did our carrots, our mokum carrots. So I'm just going to put mokum, M-O-K-U-M, and then I'll just put a C for carrot, or C-R-T. Okay, and then on the back, I'm just going to put today's date so I know how long ago I planted it. Okay, we'll clip that right there. I'm going to pre-label my other bags as well since we have the pen out. So then we have our beet. Clip that on. And then we have our rainbow carrots. That on as well. All right, so now let's move over to our beets. So for our beets, like I said, we're going to go down just a little bit deeper. We're going to go to about a 1/2 inch. These are bigger seeds, a little bit easier to handle. You can see them quite easily. So 1/2 inch, I usually say to the bottom of your nail, as long as you don't have really long nails. So I'm going to go ahead and put my finger in at the bottom of my nail, make my 2 holes, okay, see those? And then drop my seeds inside and then lightly cover them. Okay, so now we have our beets and our Mokum carrots planted. We're going to wait on our rainbow carrots until tomorrow, so I will post a part 2 when we come back, and I'm going to put those in very similar to what we did with the Mokum carrots. We're just going to put 4 indentations or 3 depending on how many seeds you have, and then plant those in the same manner. But before we go, we want to make sure that we water. If you have a spray bottle, these are really great, especially for the kids, to make sure that they don't overwater and make sure that they don't erode the soil. So I'm just going to spray the top. We've already pre-moistened the soil, so we shouldn't need a lot of water, okay? We can come back in, especially if we're using a spray bottle, come back in maybe once a day, make sure that the top hasn't dried out. You can also pour a little water into the bottom of the pan, and the water will come in through the bag up into the soil. So you can do one, the other, or both. All right, since these are deeper bags, and so therefore you want to make sure that you get everything wet, because the roots, once these plants start to grow, the roots that are going to be getting the water are going to be more deeper into the ground, because our root system is down straight into the ground. All right. So that is it for our 2nd grade grow kit. If you have any questions, just email us at seedtoharvest@benhampto.org. And enjoy, happy gardening, and I can't wait to see some of your harvest pictures. These should take about, I think, 60 days. Anyway, actually, about 50 to 60 days for each of these to come to maturity. So if you start calculating based on the date that you planted, you can kind of figure out when you should be able to come back and eat them. And then just make sure, like I said, you're checking on them either every day or every other day to make sure that they have enough water. Once they come above the ground, once they've germinated, you want to actually bring these outside and make sure that they're in full sun. So the sun doesn't matter after you've planted them until they've germinated. So as long as they're in a warm spot, they will start to grow. Once they come above ground, that's when you need to make sure that they have light. So here in my garage, I have some grow lights. I have a greenhouse, so I keep them in there for a little bit before bringing them outside. But especially the carrots are cool weather tolerant, so they can go outside in the spring weather as long as you've gotten past the frost. All right, so if you have any questions, again, just email me, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Enjoy. See you around.